We're joined now by the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Ohio Republican Congressman Mike Turner. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here in person. I want to talk about the election meddling that we have been hearing is underway. U.S. intelligence and the Justice Department say Iran is working to influence the outcome of the next election. The FBI is investigating phishing attempts at people associated with both the Trump and the Harris campaigns. But we know in 2020, the Supreme Leader had sanctioned Iran interfering to hurt Donald Trump in that election. Are you satisfied with what the social media companies and U.S. intelligence are doing now?
You know, I think what's missing here is a response from the administration. You have Microsoft coming forward and saying that the Trump administration the Trump campaign had been hacked. The Biden administration had identified that Iran was attempting to do this, including spinning misinformation. But even further, the administration has acknowledged that Iran was executing a plan to assassinate Donald Trump. They even alleging that an individual they have in possession was part of that plot. But you don't really have a response from the administration. You know, most national security experts resoundingly agree that killing a presidential candidate would be an act of war from a foreign power. Well, certainly attempting though does at least require a response. And this, the administration is both on the hacking side, on the misinformation side, and on the alleged attempt on Donald Trump's life is not holding Iran accountable. There's no red lines.
So you don't count the arrest and prosecution of the individual who is recruiting
This is not a law enforcement issue.
assassins.
Right? This is not a law enforcement issue. This is a nation state that the administration has identified as having executed a plot to try to assassinate Donald Trump and is undertaking misinformation, election interference, including hacking. This requires a response to the administration.
You have oversight of the intelligence community. You can't talk about classified information, but are you suggesting here that there aren't even covert actions being taken against Iran?
I'm saying that there is not a response that impacts Iran or that has a deterrent effect or holds them accountable. And that, of course, results in increased activity and an increase in emboldening of Iran to meddle in our elections and to I think, have people at risk in our country.
What would you want to see? Sanctions or?
At least, well, of course, you first to start with a statement by the administration. And then also you could go to, there need to be statements of red lines and understanding of what actions would occur. And then there does need to be action. I think the administration needs to look at what is their response going to be now that they're openly saying that they have in custody an individual they allege was part of an Iranian plot to assassinate Donald Trump.
And those other officials associated do still receive protection largely from diplomatic security.
In addition to his cabinet members that have been threatened. So
the administration is approving that, though, is my point. But on what the U.S. intelligence community is assessing about interfering in the election, the director of national intelligence did brief reporters and said that Moscow has not changed its prior preference of candidates, which in 2016 and 2020 was Donald Trump.
Well,
is enough being done on that front in terms of that level of meddling, which is expected to continue as well? I
think what we're seeing here, especially in the part of Iran, is that they understand that Donald Trump is anti-Iran, and he recognizes that a strong America is a safer world. Now, if you look further as to meddling and what Russia is doing, I think in this instance, Trump has certainly indicated that he wants to bring an end to the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and it certainly isn't an anti-Ukraine position, but it certainly is a stronger America position. And you were just talking with Senator Kelly about the restrictions that are being placed on Ukraine by the Biden administration in this conflict. Those certainly are troublesome and do result in this sort of status quo of that can be a game of attrition on Ukraine.
So to the point in terms of lifting further restrictions, which I think he favored, I know you advocate this as well, but how much of this is based on the imperative that there are 5 months left of the Biden administration and the Trump-Vance view is, quote, that it is not in America's interest to sustain that war? Do you need to surge in the next 5 months? Because J.D. Vance, who I've interviewed many times about this, is clear that he is not for continued support financially.
Well, no one is for this war continuing, but I certainly fully support Ukraine. And I think a concern with the Biden administration's restrictions, also needing to get them modified, is Ukraine is finally in a position where they can hold Russia accountable. If they can, they have now entered into Russian territory. If they can use long-range weapon systems to hold accountable Russia's valid military targets that are attacking Ukraine, we can change the dynamics on the ground. You can't continue to just have a front line in Ukraine where Russia is outproducing weapon systems that Ukraine from what Ukraine has, and have this turn out well for Ukraine. In this instance, if the Biden administration's restrictions are lifted, we also know, even if there is a Harris administration that follows, that Ukraine's support would be there, the ability to hold Russia accountable would be there.
You have said you are concerned about aggressiveness from authoritarian nations that are putting democracies at risk. Donald Trump recently called Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin lovely individuals, and he said this on Thursday.
I'm not looking to be bad to Iran. We're going to be friendly, I hope, with Iran. Maybe, but maybe not. But we're going to be friendly, I hope. We're going to be friendly, but they can't have a nuclear weapon. They can't have a nuclear weapon. And we were all set to make sure that they don't have a nuclear weapon, because once they do, it's a whole different world.
I'm sure you'd be critical of Democrats saying they want to be friendly with Iran. What do you make of the mixed messaging there from Mr. Trump?
Well, I don't think it's really mixed messaging. To acknowledge some of the strengths of your adversaries is not having weakness on your own part. In fact, Donald Trump, with the maximum pressure campaign on Iran, put the most pressure on Iran that they have had in any administration, both economically, militarily. They were on the ropes. Actually, they had
restarted
in their processes. They had slowed. What we see now with this administration, they might declare themselves a nuclear weapons state by the end of this year. With the reports have been news reports have been out stating that
Are you saying that the Supreme Leader has changed his conclusion
there is
on
a
this?
possibility with the advances that have been made under the Biden administration's policy that Iran could, reports are out that Iran could declare itself a nuclear weapon state by the end of the year. You would not have had that.
Hasn't been made, has it?
No, but you would not have had that under the Trump administration's maximum pressure campaign. The flexibility and freedom that they've had under the Biden administration has given them the ability to both try to influence our elections, actively try to undertake a plot to assassinate Donald Trump, and to continue their nuclear weapons and their nuclear enrichment programs.